decades of impactful public service and now at the helm of Young India Skill University, he is preparing today's youth for tomorrow's opportunities. Please put your hands together and welcome Shri V.L.V.S.S. Subba Rao Garu, and may I now invite on stage our moderator Vidhi Maheshwari to have a conversation.
Good morning, everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to be a part of ABP Desam Smart Ed Conclave. Now, before we start this session, sir, I believe you want to address the audience and talk to them for 5-10 minutes. So please, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Very good morning. Nice to see so many youngsters over here, all in one go. It's a sight that we rarely get to see. So, just before we get into the question-answer session, which can tend to be, we tend to lose perspective when we get into singular questions spread across. So, I'll just tell you, I'll try to give you a brief overview, going by the topic, the aspect of skilling, and where we stand today. Future of education is, you can't talk about the future before realizing where we stand in the present and with a perspective of the past, how we have evolved up to this stage and how we are going to carry forward. So if you are driving in a car today on the road, right next to you, you'll find a three-wheeler, and next to that you'll find a cycle. So there is not just a duality, there are multiple stages in the economic development status of our people. So the similar thing you can see in respect of education also. You have the best of institutions, the IIMs, the IITs, then universities like where all of you are studying. We're very, very fortunate to be here. Then there are people who lack the basic means to go to institutions which are simply several layers below you, government colleges, and then the schooling. Most of you come from good schools, I presume. I myself am a student of Hyderabad Public School, Begumpet. Then I went to Delhi University, spent most of my life in Delhi in the government service. So, but then there's another section which is constitutes about 80% of our education system, which is so underprivileged that they don't even have the means to perceive where the world is moving. They're just too busy coping with the present. So that's where India stands today, and Telangana also is in a similar position. So this Young India Skills University was established basically to cater to all these gaps, not just the rock bottom, not even the middle, and to also cater to the future of education so that we are aligned with industry. The bottom line is industry and service sectors have been growing in a particular direction, whereas our education system has remained where it is. The curriculum and the approach have remained constant over the decades, over the last 20 years or so. A few institutions here and there in a scattered manner have been able to catch up with the changing trends, but not all. Though this has to be a phenomenon, that encompasses our entire education system. It's going to take some time. This is something which we realized when I was Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Govt of India, 2016 to 2020. That's when we decided that there are about 98 lakh students pass out from general degree courses, BA, BSc, BCom every year. About 55 lakh of them remain unemployed. So we are unleashing 55 lakh students into the system without jobs year after year. So this is a huge social problem which is making education irrelevant to industry and the service sectors. It's not something which we can afford. And on the other hand, the few institutions which are growing, they're growing on their own. The brilliant students get in there, and so it's very difficult to differentiate whether the student is gaining from it or the institution is gaining from such bright students. In any case, most of these students go abroad. So there is a very clear pathway that is established over there. It's something like Manyavar. You've seen the Manyavar ad and Virat Kohli. The Manyavar brand itself is so big, it's very difficult to see whether Virat Kohli is gaining from it or Manyavar is gaining from Virat Kohli. That is the way it is. So also with all these IIMs and IITs, that's something which we had thought about as early as that. So when we narrow down everything to skills sets meaning, basically skills does not mean the plumber, the electrician and carpenter. Skill sets just about encompass everything in our day-to-day life, the way we talk. When there's a brother and sister, okay, the elder brothers, the two brothers fight for every little thing at a very young age in life. They fight once, twice, thrice. Then they suddenly realize in the course of their interaction that they cannot be fighting like this. There has to be a spirit of cooperation, a spirit of sharing. So life's first soft skills begin at home. And then from then onwards to the school, the college, and so on. So if that is tempered with language, it is tempered with other subjects and all. So these soft skills are embedded into our daily process of growing up. So if it doesn't happen during childhood, at school, at college, it's very difficult to catch up with it in the higher education stage. That's when you need all these specialized courses and all. So the gap in soft skills is the first prerequisite in our education system, especially in most states. Why we can't even handpick states for that? It is there. Once you move away from the cities, even within the cities and places like as I've personally seen. Next comes the industry relevant skills, since we are talking of skill sets. Industry relevant skills. Now, if you look around Hyderabad, you have the pharma industry, you have the IT industry, of course. IT industry is again further sub-specialized into multiple activities, each one becoming a niche entity in itself as we go along. So it's an over-specialized segment, and but then how many can the IT industry accommodate, and how many will be able to cope up with the requirements of the IT industry? Then you have the airport industry. I mean, I'm talking about all the industries with whom we have already signed MOUs, about 23 industries in a short stay of about 6 months. And so then you have the pharma industry, then which itself has biological events, Bharat Biotech, Aurobindo Pharma, and so on. So all of them require some skill sets in common, some which are slightly differentiated. And then you have the retail industry, you have the logistics industry, huge employers. All of them require managers, all of them require supervisors. And then you have the construction industry, of course, where you start from the very basic level to the top. And then above all this, you have AI. When I was dealing with the media and entertainment industry, I was in the governing council of that skill council until a couple of years back. There's a very interesting subject called gaming, which has already been introduced in, I think some of you are from KL University. There's a subject called gaming, which has been introduced, animation, gaming, and so on. So game design was something which was a one-year course until last year. Then came AI. Now game development now takes place in 1 week, thanks to AI. So everything that people have learnt until then takes a backseat, and this particular compressed time frame has now come to pervade the industry. But then, does it mean that a guy who had taken up the gaming course in its previous avatar straight away adapt to this? No. If you want to use an AI-enabled tool, you have to first be competent yourself. You should have an engineering mind, and so on. So this is what happened when. To give you one more example, when A.R. Rahman came into the picture, prior to that, in those yesteryear music, you had Lakshmikant Pyarelal and all those other music directors. There used to be one guitar player, there used to be one tabalchi, and there used to be one harmonium player. But once A.R. Rahman came into the picture, we used to have 20 violins, 3 guitars, one is a lead guitar, one is a bass guitar, and so on. Then you have on a system which can process 108 sounds. You have one, his most trusted sound recorder, Deepak, who used to moderate the sounds, all of them, and then try to configure the scheme which his master told him the previous night. So this was how complex it became. That does not mean that all these people have gone out of business, but it's just that they had to keep on upgrading their skills over a period of time. The new set of skill sets keep getting demanded all the time. So the challenge before today's student is, you are never completely educated, you are never completely skilled once you finish your degree or once you finish whatever. It's a process of learning. How to future-proof yourself is the most important challenge which is facing education today. Future-proofing requires, first of all, a pre-existing level of education. That's one thing. And then following that, the future-proofing is in your hands. Upgradation is in your hands largely. How motivated you are, first of all, how responsive you are to the changing technologies. The workplace does enough to put those pressures on you, and how quickly will you adapt to all those things. An example which I keep taking all along is Sachin Tendulkar and Vinod Kambli both started their cricket at the same age. By the age of 23, Sachin Tendulkar was the best batsman in the world. But Vinod Kambli played his last test at the age of 23. So why did that happen? There was this series against West Indies, the bouncers came, the short pitch balls, Kambli lost his confidence, he was not able to play it. Whereas Tendulkar, with firm resolve, he learned to pull the ball, hook the ball, duck it, play the uppercut, he tried so many things. So it's the attitude towards it. So when times are changing, conditions are changing, we adapt and we overcome them. We take the bull by the horns. So that's the attitude that is needed, constant upgradation. In the IT sector, it's already happening. It's my daughter herself works with Goldman Sachs after doing a master's in computer science from Columbia University. She says that the day she passed out of Columbia to today, she had to reinvent herself umpteen times. That's what is happening. And so future proofing is entirely in your hands. So when it's not a concept. It is also a skill set within you. You should have that attitude for future proofing. So much about skills. Skills are an integral part of our day-to-day existence. That is what I would say. And the challenge before our education system is to instill a particular attitude in the students towards future-proofing themselves, to make themselves first of all relevant. And for that, the educational institutions have a duty, that is to bring in the latest skill sets as available at that point of time into the curriculum, give exposure to the modern curriculum to the students. Like for example, if I'm allowed to brag a little bit, I'm curating 3 curricula. One from, I've got all the 5 major pharma companies in Hyderabad to curate a BSc in applied pharmaceutical production. Each, for all 3 years, the final 1 year will be fully industry apprenticeship. 2 years will be the skill sets which are there for various job roles. Those will be converted into curriculum, molded according to UGC guidelines, and then offered to the students. The student who's entering, is studying, there'll be hardly any theory. Most of the work will be in the lab or in the companies in the form of internships. And then finally they'll get ready jobs. Then when it comes to a subject which very popular subject everyone takes is a BBA. Management education in India starts at the post-graduation level usually. IIMs or MBA, that's the thing. Your degree can be anything. So, but at the undergrad stage, there is a need for a world-class curriculum in management. So, at the BBA stage. So, what I'm presently doing is I'm in discussion with Bajaj Finance. We might announce the Rahul Bajaj School of Finance also, where we will curate a BBA curriculum with the skill sets demanded by the banking sector, by the insurance sector, and the institutional finance sectors. Those there again, the various skills or the job roles that they are going to play, those will be converted into curriculum. And this curriculum will be offered with again 1 full year of apprenticeship. So industry exposure in the form of internships and apprenticeship. This is what every educational institution today will have to do. Even if your college is located somewhere in Assam and there's no industry around, send him to a timber mill for 2 months just to learn how the timber business goes, and that's also an internship. I mean, you have to mold yourself according to the circumstances. That's how it goes on. And when it comes to subjects like artificial intelligence or emerging technologies, what we have planned to do, most probably when our campus is ready by December next year, I'll offer a course in emerging technologies, perhaps a BTech in emerging technologies, in which emerging technologies by definition, they will be changing. So if a student enters a BTech doing emerging, by the time he comes to the 3rd year, some things would have already got outdated. So what we would do is remove certain items from which are already outdated, introduce the latest in that part. So we'll have a revolving curriculum. What I intend to have is a revolving curriculum. In all probability, it will be there for all the subjects that we offer. This is just a simple, humble thought and initial steps towards keeping pace with industry, keeping pace, to see that our students don't go outdated, because we have a responsibility to the student, provided the student feels responsible for himself and his career. That's another separate problem in Telangana, which I don't want to touch on, how serious are we and so on. Then you have these various online modes. Online modes is students of today who are well confident about themselves. They prefer the online mode because they can choose their timings. They're not at the mercy of the instructor's timings. And then they can choose the pace of their learning also. unlike the conventional mode. And so therefore online has its advantages, provided the basic instruction, the basic funda as we say, that has to be clear. Once the funda is clear, the online, you can do everything else online. So that's where the basics always have to be in a physical mode. The rest can be digital. So with these thoughts, I think I've spoken enough. Thank you very much. I'd be able to respond to them.
So those were some fabulous insights. You answered most of the questions I have here, but I'll try and get to some of the questions. We spoke about how students have to future-proof themselves because the education curriculum is not really changing. But there has to be some change that has to be instilled. So let's talk about the gaps and what can the school level education, how do they introduce soft skills? How do they introduce industry level skills? So when they do come to the skill university, they're a little more prepared.
So like you rightly said, preparation comes at a much earlier stage than the university. So we have to target the +2 stage most probably because class 10 is basic survival these days. Unless you get a particular score in class 10, you can't really focus on anything. I mean, if you go to a class 10 student and say, forget about everything, do what you're best at, discover yourself and all that, 2-3 years will pass and he'll fail in class 10 and he'll be... That's an unfortunate system in India with our population and our school and with the kind of... and then the school education system is growing at a disproportionately faster rate than the higher education system because the right to education coming up and then after the new education policy, I happen to write a bit of the new education policy too. So when I was in the ministry, so it's just about everybody has to go to school. So which means that many schools have to come up. The growth in schools, the school growth rate has to be as fast as the birth rate almost. That's the way it's coming out to be. So in schools, it's very, very difficult in the immediate run to transform the school education curriculum. So we should focus on the +2 stage and inundate the students with soft skills, English communication, reasoning, critical thinking. And then so the disputable point here is, can we really have a curriculum for critical thinking, reasoning? I mean, are there books for that? No. How do you learn all that? It comes from the method of instruction. So basically it is our own teachers. Our B.Ed courses have to undergo a transformation. They have to be told how to teach. And that's in the Young India, since you mentioned our university, I think a great service we can do to the nation is to conduct training of trainer courses for all the teachers so that this, from our School of Life Skills, we are going to teach them how to teach, number one, and then how to teach life skills. English is something. If English speaking, communication is nothing but using about 50 words in some permutation. That's about all it comes. It's awesome, it's amazing. I mean, these are the words they use. And then, of course, communications have become shorter these days. When I was young, somebody rings up the phone. I used to, hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. I mean, there used to be a lot of pleasantries exchanged. These days, I just say, I'm good. That's it. So the basic respect has also come down these days. I'm good. That's about all. And people have got used to WhatsApp, so everything has become so abbreviated. So communication skills has to revive this kind of a culture within people that you have to be more interactive. You can't withdraw into yourself. That's it. But one thing is technology has made people look inwards, whereas the need of the hour is to look outwards. That's essential. And in a large country like ours, with the kind of industries and service sectors that you're going to work in, you had better be communicative. Let me tell you that there's no way out. You just can't sit there and say, I'll a computer in front of me, a desktop, and then I'm going to work for 1 week. Nobody should ask me any questions till I come up with some kind of a report or whatever. No, that's not that. So from the university or from any university should look at life skills in the form of all these kind of communication skills, then move on to domain skills. You can pick up domain skills better because these soft skills are going to open up your mind, make you more responsive, build up your confidence. Then you will absorb the domain skills better. Otherwise, the student will always remain underconfident, always. That's what we found.
So there is a responsibility on students, but teachers also need to relearn their course of education, right? Like you mentioned, the teachers also have to go through a whole new level of understanding.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, post my retirement, I've been working in the education. I was advisor to 5 states on the education front before I accepted this assignment. And there are some state-to-state variations also, but everywhere it is one thing: you have committed teachers, you have not so committed teachers. But then the committed teachers do have their limitations. We must say that they're bursting with enthusiasm. Then they're open to coming to teachers training programs also. But then if they go to those standard, readily available teachers training institutions dishing out the same curriculum, no, that's not the case. So we have to overhaul the entire training of teachers curricula. We want to come up with a whole teachers manual ourselves now, which we will do within the next couple of months. Because that's where I sense the pulse is: soft skills, teachers training, and then you talk about. So if you want to skill 1 lakh people in the country today, there are no trainers. Let's face it. That's the basic drawback we are facing with. So all these announcements: we've trained 1 lakh people, we've trained 2 lakh people. Those are just statistics, and it doesn't translate into effective training to start with. And in some cases, even the numbers are not there. They're fabricated numbers. That's these government-funded training programs. Unfortunately, in Hyderabad, we are living in a city where a student comes to the college for education and goes to Amirpet for skilling. That's what we have today in our system. So why is it that Amirpet has become such a flourishing empire? Why can't all those resources come into our college and university system? That was a basic query which I raised to the Honorable Minister also. The day we empty Amirpet totally of all its resources and our colleges take over everything, that's the real success of our education system. And that's how it is. Of course, you can have coaching centers for civil services and so on, that's okay. But not for basic skills. You enroll here in a college and then the very next day you're looking towards Amirpet. That's not that's not desirable also. And unless we should not run away from these realities, we have to address it. And I'll answer your next question, then tell you a personal episode.
Yeah. So I was just going to ask, you've shared some very practical, motivational insights, but we'd like to hear a success story as well. So it motivates us a lot more. A student who started with limited means, but achieved something through the Skill University?
Success stories in our limited time of say 6 months. Our first batch of 103 students have got their short-term course certificates. 94% of them, we've given them offer letters. Okay. So the courses were in finishing school for nurses with Apollo Hospitals, Dr. Reddy's Pharma Associate, that's a direct apprenticeship program. They earn 17,500 rupees per month from the day they join, and once in another 2 months they'll finish it, and then they'll be getting some 25K per month. That's one. Warehouse Executive, Key Consignor Executive, those are the 2 courses we started, and now we have a program, Endoscopy Technicians in AIG hospitals, that's ongoing. Now the success story you said it is a little mixed. Success is there, yes. I've seen this list of 94% people who have given offer letters come from the poorest segments and moderate income backgrounds. But they are also products of the fee reimbursement system, so to say, which is there in the government colleges. So they've lost the aptitude for hard work. Everything comes to them. And they've been given free attendance, they've been given free education, and they're also passed free. There's a guy with 9.6 CGPA from Palamur University who cannot write one single line. So even those people, we have managed to get them jobs. And then you won't believe it. What has happened is that they don't want to accept a job, say in Swiggy, Flipkart, all these jobs which we've organized for 20,000 per month. They don't want to accept it because the 3-month probation period, they don't want to take that 3-month probation period. They feel it's below their dignity as graduates to work as a probationer. First do that initial pick-pack work where he does that closing of those boxes and so on. Because if he has to be a supervisor after 3 months, the practice is like in any other country, Germany, Australia. Australia, they make you sweep the floor also. Here we are not making them anything to do of that nature. So pick-pack, then followed by 1 month of documentation, then 1 month of quality control, then he's a supervisor. So this 1 month they don't want to go through. And they say that, can't you get us a desk job? I said, you've come for a job of a warehouse executive. What are you talking of a desk job? And somebody else says Tukuguda is far away, Medchal is far away, these kind of things. So net result of all this, what has happened is about 70% of that particular batch have accepted the jobs. Other 30% and those jobs have been filled up by people from Orissa within no time. Within no time, they've been filled up, and all the supervisors in these warehouses are from Orissa. That's the unfortunate fact. So there are sociological factors. How to change the minds of these students? That's, I think, the biggest problem in Telangana. It is not the problem in UP. It is not the problem in Bihar. It's not the problem in Orissa. It's not the problem in Rajasthan or Maharashtra. These are the states I've worked with over the last 3 to 4 years. And it's a very acute problem in our state and the adjoining Andhra Pradesh also, that student attitude towards hard work, that's vanished. And it's partly the government policies to blame, you may say. Yes, I would say so. When people start paying for their degree education, yes, then they'll realize the value of money, their father's money, and the value of a job in hand. You imagine giving somebody a 20,000 rupee per month job letter in Swiggy and actually having to persuade him to go and take up that job. That's the unfortunate thing. And I tried everything I could do. This particular batch, it was a personal challenge because while I was very happy with the success of all those 60, 70 people out of these 103, I was more concerned about these 30 odd people who were not accepting the jobs that were given to them, just on grounds of this. And they're not able to speak one word. You ask him to write a one-page essay on his chosen subject. One guy says mom, one guy says dad, one guy chooses Pawan Kalyan, and he'll write to talk about all his films and so on. That's the way it is. I mean, these kind of people getting 20K jobs itself is a huge surprise for them. So I only told him one thing. You're saying no to this job. I told him, imagine the situation. You take this letter, go to your mother and say, Mummy, I got this job of 20,000 from Swiggy. And then you also say that this is a job I've got from Swiggy and I said no to it. Now what is going to make your mother happy? Think it over. So I tried even that kind of moral persuasion or whatever. Some people changed, but some people were really hardcore, and that's it. They'll realize after 2 years when they are nowhere, and they'll come down to accepting 10,000 jobs. That's what is eventually going to happen. So this is another sociological challenge as we go ahead. Soft skills, domain skills, and then attitude change. All these are major challenges. So the bigger institutions are unlikely to have a problem because the managements of these larger institutions are such that anything new, they immediately absorb it, put it into their curriculum, and then the students directly stand to gain out of it. But then I would suggest one thing to some of the students over here. You should try and doing some teacher apprenticeships in your, suppose you have a 2-month internship which is compulsory to you. Just take those 2 months to go teach in some government college or school, something like that, so that you get a pulse of what is really happening, the social reality in the country today. That's very, very important. Even if you have to do an MBA in Harvard, what they'll ask you is, have you worked with an NGO? Have you worked on a social project? So why don't you do that during your education itself? So we can create these opportunities for you to come, and you can teach. If you want to teach any subject of your choice in a school or a government college, you can get in touch with us and we'll organize this. Student apprenticeship is a favorite theme of mine, especially. I was trying to do that to students of engineering colleges also, to try and see, so that first of all it builds up their own credentials, their own CV gets enhanced. If you say that you've taught for 2 months even while you were a student in a college, that's...
I have to congratulate you, sir. Despite all the challenges, I think you've achieved quite a few fantastic achievements. And I think the huge urban-rural employment divide is something that your university plans to bridge.
Yeah, we are trying to do that. We have a definite plan for that. We have chosen Mehbubnagar district first. First thing which I understood is that the rural students and the urban students face the divide is not normal. It's a huge divide, and the divide begins with the area of English, communication, and soft skills. So we've identified 1,000 students in 2 colleges of Mehbubnagar district. We've called that program Master, Mehbubnagar Soft Skills and Employment Readiness Master, and we are going to put these students throughout the final year. That is like a finishing school in the final year of their degree, the 3rd year. entire whatever is there in their schedule, in their daily timetable towards English and soft skills will be replaced by our instructors who will go and teach them those English and soft skills. And towards the end of it, we will try to see if the good students can be also imparted some domain skills so that they can get into some employment. We are trying a similar thing in Khammam district also. Based on our existing resources and capacity, as we are now hiring about 8 to 10 soft skills trainers, which I want to disseminate all across the state because I recognize this as the biggest problem. And we are also dividing the schools, students into two categories, basic and basic plus. Those who are above a particular cutoff we'll call them basic plus, and those below that will be basic, because if you have the same class for both, the basic plus students will get bored and they'll stop attending. As it is, they don't need a reason to bunk classes, but this will make it even worse. We are inviting the trouble. So we are going to have two parallel sessions going, and this is a pilot which is some kind of a mission, because I promised the Honorable Minister that there is an attitude problem and there is a soft skills problem. I can easily evade it, conduct entrance tests for good students, take them, put them to jobs and sit there. So I told him, sir, I was wondering whether I should take on this challenge. Do I get into this huge, the dirty pool of water or whatever you may call it? I said, I'll take the plunge. Let's try and do something in the next 1 or 2 years about these students, because they are the ones who really need it. If you want to change a state, if you want to change, you have to change the thinking first. That's what we'll have to do, and the effort starts from there. Then their grasping of other domain skills, etc., is become spontaneous, automatic, and they do it by choice once they realize that they have to do it.
You've got immense support from the government, you've got immense support from the CM, and you're doing fantastic work. So where is your vision? What do you want to see in the next 5 to 10 years with Young India Skill University?
In about 5 years from now, our university would have schools catering to every spectrum of society. The basic category, the next category, the mezzanine layer or whatever you may want to call it. And then comes the high-tech and it can go into, high-tech is a huge sector. We want to, once our permanent campus is ready, we are building about 1 lakh square feet of lab space. The best companies have come forward to set up labs over there, including semiconductors and so on. So we'll be running engineering courses from next year. So we'll cater to that segment of the market also. So, and then in addition to that, I must tell you that something which no other university has done in the country, I'm proposing to do now. In my opinion, education is a decentralized subject. We cannot take all the students to our campus in Future City, build them hostels and keep them there. No. The catchment area of the students is around the colleges, the college system. So I've tied up with 33 autonomous degree colleges of the state, and I'm following a policy of 1 college, 1 classroom. So every college gives me 1 classroom and I'll take care of the rest. So what skilling course has to be run there, how to run it, provided the course is affiliated to me. So I'll take care of that course, and I'll take care of them right from there, whether it's a short-term course or a medium, right till the time of their placement. I'll take care of it, and we are about to sign an MOU. V.L.V.S.S hasn't come today. I'm supposed to meet her in the next 1 or 2 days, and then we'll work out the arrangement in that manner. So the college system, students are in the college system. We have to take our skilling to the colleges so that they work in their own area. It's comfortable for them to come and go to college. They are used to a particular ecosystem. So we impart the training there. So why get into infrastructure creation in the era of outsourcing? That's what I was thinking. And then when we have such a ready infrastructure, let us fully and optimally utilize it. And in future, we plan to integrate the polytechnics also into us. The polytechnic students, what is happening today is that they finish a 3-year polytechnic course. A company like Godrej is ready to absorb them into employment, paying them 30,000 rupees per month. But then these polytechnic students, they walk straight into second-year engineering courses. So 90% of them go straight away into engineering courses, and they leave this particular job. And then once they finish the engineering courses in an indifferent manner, how these colleges that have come up, they'll be left with no jobs, and they'll settle for 15,000 jobs after an engineering courses, as opposed to the 30,000 jobs they would have got after their polytechnic. So I suggested to the minister that the only way is to have an engineering course within our polytechnics itself, where every polytechnic will have one engineering course driven by a particular industry. Every industry sponsors takes up, not even sponsor is a very one-sided word, takes up the mentorship of a particular engineering course in every polytechnic so that these people study here itself and they're still in tune with the industry. They have not lost the basic skills that they've gained through these polytechnics. The basic problem with Indian education system is that it has been designed in such a way that the engineers come from IITs and the supervisors come from polytechnics. And in between the two, the assistant managers, deputy managers, joints, there's a huge middle which is going uncatered for. That is what. And for those require some basic skills amongst people. That is where our general degree colleges can be adapted into fitting into those particular job roles.
Those are fantastic plans, sir, and I hope you do achieve them. And I hope with the changing time, our education curriculum also changes as rapidly as we want to see change. Finally, I'd like to ask you one question. We've got students in the audience and we'll have students watching this video online as well. 3 tips. They all have dreams of getting a high-paying job, getting into the corporate world. 3 tips for them to succeed. So all the students who are here, who are in the audience and will be watching us online, 3 tips for them for their dreams to achieve a high-paying job, getting into the corporate world. What skills should they be working on?
3 tips for you. Okay, the kids of today, they don't like to be told, I know that. But then if I have to point out certain, number 1 is never stop learning. Because the day you feel you know everything, whether after you finish a degree or whether you have to whatever skill you may acquire, that is only a starting point. It's believe in the concept of lifelong learning. That is one thing. Secondly, the attitude, the positive attitude. Positive attitude is my second tip. What is a positive attitude? Positive attitude doesn't mean that you suddenly start walking with a swagger and then start talking with an air and expect the other person has an obligation to listen to whatever you may have to say. No, that's not a positive attitude. Positive attitude is when you speak only when you have firm conviction about what you are about to say. You should either have full knowledge of what you're going to say, and if you don't know something, you have to listen and understand when the other person is talking. There's no positive person in this world who's not a good listener. That's one thing. That's something. So that is what exactly is a positive attitude. And then number 3, self-respect and respect. You respect yourself, you respect others in the same way. Because I'll tell you, what is spirituality ultimately? If you, after visiting temples and Gurujis and Swamijis for about 30-35 years in your lifetime, the net realization is that God is within you. And that's what you realize. Finally, at the end of all this exercise, you realize that God is within you. And if God is within you, He's within him, her, and so on. That's a supplementary realization which takes a little longer to come. So that's most important is you talk to the other person as though you're talking to yourself. Respect and self-respect both go hand in hand. You can't have self-respect and then disrespect the other person. These are the only things. If you have this attitude, you'll learn all the soft skills in the world. You'll learn all the domain skills in the world. You'll have the attitude to learn all this and then grow and succeed. And retain the same, then it will help you retain the same attitude towards both success and failure. Not amongst yourself, but even among your subordinates. You learned how to carry them through their success, how to pat them on their back, carry them through their failures, and pat them on their back through their success. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Absolute honor to have you join us at ABP Desam Education Conclave. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, sir.
With this, may I now invite on stage Shri G.V. Nageshwara Garu, Digital Editor, ABP Network, and Shri Sunil Goswami, Editor, Digital Videos, ABP Network, to please felicitate our chief guest, V.L.V.S.S. Subba Rao, VC, Young India Skill University, former Principal, Economic Advisor, Govt of India.